Welcome to Agents Unfiltered, where you get to see behind the scenes, behind the agents, and behind the market. We might have a few laughs along the way. All right, well, welcome back to Agents Unfiltered podcast. Today, I've got a special guest on, Stephen Murphy. He's my business partner, and he's been in my orbit, my world for about 15 years as a franchise manager for me when I was in a franchise. And we hit it off, and we've done a lot together in the meantime. And we went off and bought a business together.
Yeah, it's been an interesting ride, Damian. Certainly has. It's been good. It's been fun. It's been fun.
I got you on today.
Not over yet either, mate.
No, I know, mate. We're going to be going for a long time yet, and we're having a lot of fun. But what I wanted to get you on today, Steve, was to chat about sort of the changing face of the real estate industry. And you've been around a long time, so if you could just share with us sort of firstly your history, and then we'll talk about how things have changed.
Yep, sure, yeah. So I started in 1980. So most people potentially listening to this weren't born then, but anyway, that was me. And I was actively in real estate right up until 2011, where I had my own offices. So I started as a young agent over in the St. George area, and then progressed over to the Sutherland Shire, and that's where I had my businesses. I had a stint in a corporate world for a while in real estate as a real estate manager there, and that's where I developed my passion, I suppose, for real estate training, which we both are very keen to continue on with. So, we spoke about an opportunity that was here in Penrith, and there was a whole sequence of events, but I said to you, I think this is a great opportunity. You should buy it. And you said, well, do you want to come in on it? And I said, absolutely not. I'm not interested. And 3 years later, here we are. So having fun.
Well, that's a great little segue to say that I must be a good sales agent to get you to do something you didn't want to do, mate.
Absolutely. And you've allowed me to stay, so I must be pretty good too.
Listen to the backslapping, Jess, hey? Bit of ego in the room today, isn't there? Hey?
Not at all.
You touched on the training side of things. I know for a fact that so you helped me get into my first business, and I know for a fact as a salesman, you helped me actually transform. I had a wonderful first mentor in real estate, and that man was one of the best salesmen I've ever seen in my life, one of the best leaders I've ever seen in my life. But then people grow apart, and there's a bit of a segue, and that segue ended up being me meeting you, and then you taught me things that I hadn't seen before. So that's why I'm really keen to follow on and do the training with you, and that's what I think what we're both passionate about. But what I want to ask you is the changing face of real estate. That's 46 years by count that you said, 1980.
Yeah.
What do you think the shift is with the digital world and all that sort of stuff? Do you have any like shop fronts? Do we need them as much? All that sort of stuff.
Yeah, interesting question. It has look. The real estate world's changed dramatically since 1980. Obviously, I think back in those days we had no such thing as mobile phones. We had no such thing as internet. There was none of that. The only media was print media.
Yep.
That's how people got their news, or from TV. So things have changed dramatically since then. I remember when I started in real estate, you put a couple of lines in a newspaper. It might have been Cogra, 52,000 2BR unit, lock-up garage, and you listed a whole heap of those in the newspaper. Buyers would come in, and you would qualify them, take them out in the car, and sell them real estate. That's how it worked.
Yeah.
So things have changed dramatically since then. Some of it, I suppose, back in those days, we were taught very much about dealing with the client and knowing the client and developing a relationship with the client.
Do you think that's changed?
Oh, 100% it has. I think.
How do you think that's changed? Do you think people still want to have that resonation with a sales agent, though?
I think people want to be helped and understood. I think people want to know that the agent actually cares about them and has some sort of empathy to their position and what they're trying to do. I think with the thousands of clients that I've dealt with over the years as vendors, the primary aim is to get the house sold and get you moving. But it's more about that. It's about understanding why they're doing that, and why it's important to them, and being part of that journey, as opposed to this is just another property that I'm trying to sell.
Yep.
Buyers the same. It's buyers are going through journeys where they're downsizing, upsizing, first home, maybe selling the own or retirement home. So they all have their own story, and I think being a part of that is a real privilege.
Yeah, I agree.
I really do.
I totally agree with that. And unless until you get your career in that mode where it's about the people and not the commission, I think you're just fighting an uphill battle.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So today, a lot of digital stuff. When I say digital stuff, I sound like an old guy saying stuff. But there is a lot thrown at a sales agent, and there's a lot thrown at the general public as well. So owners and buyers know as much as an agent do, generally speaking. So,
Yeah.
so it's really, I think it's really become about the personal relationship.
Look, it has. And I think back in those early days in my career, those first 10, 20 years, there wasn't the availability of information as there is today. People can access information immediately. So on a Saturday after the auction results, people know Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, exactly what's happened. Back in my day, that information wasn't readily available. So the agent was the real conduit between what's going on in the marketplace and providing that information to potential sellers and buyers. Today, that role has totally changed. People don't need you to tell them how much their house is worth. They can find that out pretty readily by looking at what's going on in the marketplace. There's a whole lot of sites that they can go to get information. Whether it's absolutely accurate is another thing, but they've generally got a pretty good idea of what's going on out there.
So they're looking for speed of information. I gather from that, they just want the speed of information coming at them, whatever they need from you, and they want the relationship. So, which is basically the experience. They want to know they can trust you.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Okay.
What about shop fronts?
Well, yeah.
Look, shop fronts. I think back in those days, as I said, it was a little bit different. You didn't have mobile phones, you didn't have internet, so people relied very much on for sale signs and going to see the properties that they wanted to particularly look at or thinking of buying in shop front windows. So that's the only way you really got as a buyer to find out what was going on.
Yep.
Today, that's totally different. You can do all that from your lounge room. So.
Absolutely.
I think yeah. So
an agent doesn't need
no
same. I mean, you look at the McGrath's brand; they got rid of window displays a long time ago. I don't think they ever had them.
Many agents now don't have shop fronts at all.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's not about that. It's about providing a service. I think to clients now, as opposed to providing information.
Yeah.
I mean, you are still a conduit of information, obviously, but
yeah, it's more about the experience.
Exactly.
Yep. So the shop fronts aren't anywhere near needed. There's a lot of mobile agents, like you talked about, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I think that's changed the industry. So with all those industry changes, one of those things that comes along with those changes is government legislation, government control. Do I get you started on that, Steve?
Yep. Going far away.
AML. We're expected to be federal police on behalf of the government. How do you feel about that?
So AML is just another impediment on business, as far as I'm concerned. And look, I think the anti-money laundering legislation, it's there to stop counterterrorism and all that. I understand all that, but we're real estate agents dealing with Mr. and Mrs. Smith out here in Penrith that are looking to sell their 3-bedroom bungalow to go into a retirement home. It's hardly terrorist type stuff. And I get it. I get it if you're dealing with multi-million-dollar, properties and it's companies and it's overseas investors from Russia or China or wherever. I get all that. But we don't do that. We just deal with mums and dads and the little person buying an investment property to try and get ahead in their super. But that's all we deal with. But that leads me to another.
Yeah, we'll get to that. So the AML, where we are literally expected to send out links for people to verify themselves. So government can clip the ticket on the way through
Yeah.
for $29 or $30 or whatever it costs.
$30 a check.
Clip,
It's
clip
just
the
another
ticket
cost.
off a purchaser, clip the ticket off an owner, because I know that real estate agents long term won't be able to afford to
can't.
wear it, and it is a piece of legislation for them to do, not for us to do. We're just the servers of it. I just think it's another way for government to clip the ticket for another little miniature tax where they make a few $1,000,000 from a process which
Absolutely.
really won't change how many people they catch
Couldn't agree more. Absolutely.
in money laundering.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. As I say, I don't see too many Ferraris or multi-billion-dollar properties around here. That's not what we deal in.
Yeah.
I think my concern is the cost that it's adding to do business, and it's just making it harder and harder for people. We're in a market that is fairly tough, and you've got another burden on business and another cost. And as you know, on our business, how much that's costing? It's costing a lot of money. It's another full wage. It's implementing all these systems. It's not $30 a person.
Yeah.
It's tens of thousands of dollars, and I question whether we could even get the brochures from the government to supply to our clients so they knew why we were asking these questions or why they have to go through this process. And I was told you got to go and print them yourself. I can't even get a printed brochure from them. Anyway, it's just another burden on business.
Yep.
It's not good. And I get it with lending institutions, financial institutions, absolutely. There should be some sort of accountability there. But for us agents dealing with mums and dads and the odd investor out here, I think that's just ridiculous.
Fair point. Well, that leads me into another segue. You talked about other issues. Do you like the budget? I know it's about a month ago or so now, and then we're gone.
Look, I've got to be careful what I say here. I know you're not supposed to swear too much, but I
It's unfiltered. You can swear. It's okay.
Oh, can I? Fuck me. I just look at this. I just look at what this government are doing, and I know this is not a political stance, and but we've got people that have introduced negative gearing and capital gains. Now, I started in real estate in 1980. Keating and Hawke introduced capital gains and negative gearing in 1985. It was about June 1985. And what happened in the market, they had it in there for 2 years. I think it was about September.
You mean they removed it?
They removed it. They had to remove it.
Well, more tax and no negative gearing. Yeah.
So they took off capital gains and negative gearing. The market went into a spin. And it was all about same rhetoric that you're hearing today. Oh, this is about helping people and all the rest of it. Nothing could be further from the truth.
Yeah, well, the way I see it, if I can add my 2 cents worth here, is that they want to crash the market to make it better for more people to get into the market, such as first home buyers.
Well, that's a fallacy.
I know it is because, and I believe it will be shown to be a fallacy in a very short time, because the market goes into a free fall, the banks go into a free fall of lending, and they actually reassess everyone. The banks drop more than the market does. So if you could borrow $700,000 for $1 million property, right, and then that $1 million property goes to 800,000 and drops by 200, your lending capacity will drop by more than that.
Absolutely.
And because interest rates at the same time, because the market's crashing, will force upwards because inflation will get out of control. And I'm not an economist, and I don't know if I'm right here, but I've been around for 26 years in real estate, and I've watched governments try to interfere with the market. And every time they interfere with it, it gets worse for the people at the bottom.
Absolutely, it does.
Every time. It gets worse for tenants, gets worse for first home buyers.
Well, we're already seeing the effect of rents. We're already seeing in our business, rents are actually going up.
Yep.
So you've got a situation now where we were told, or people were told that I didn't lie. It's just to change a position, and it's to help you and make things more affordable. So what we've got now is we've got 30% of the population that are renting properties, trying to stay ahead of their bills, and now rents are going to be continuing to go up. Why is that? It's because of supply and demand. The fact of the matter is, now people can't buy an investment property for their super fund. And this other fallacy that, that we're trying to stop greedy investors making too much money. 70, as you know, Damien, 70% of the people that buy investment properties are mums and dads.
One property only.
One property only, trying to get ahead in life.
Yep.
So we've got that scenario going on. We've got people saying now, well, I can't borrow any money to buy a property and negatively gear it. I can't negatively gear it, and I can't buy it in a super fund. So I just won't buy it. I'll buy something else. I'll buy a commercial property, or I'll go into the stock market. So what they've done is they've created this void now of investors who are going to continue to add to that supply, and created a supply and demand problem.
And the other issue is the people that have got 2 and 3 properties or more, which is only a smaller portion of the market. The ones that are 3 plus, it's minute. They're about.
Oh, it's not even 10%. It's about 5%.
No, it's not even that. It's around about 1%.
There you go.
And they've got the capacity to say, you know what, if it's too dear to sell the property, I'll just keep it.
Exactly.
I've seen a few people online say that if they really wanted to help first home buyers, they would remove negative gearing if you sold to a first home buyer. What do you guys think about that?
Well, what I've said, when I say
not negative gearing, capital gains.
Capital gains. So I've seen that being thrown around everywhere in other podcasts and all sorts of stuff, where if the government said, okay, let's just make it cheap for an investor to offload, where they don't pay any tax at all, provided it's been verified that the buyer is a first home buyer. I've seen that, and I think it's actually got merit. I don't know how it'd work. You need economists to look at it. But what you're going to do is you're going to increase stamp duties. But the problem with that is that's state. So the state gets the stamp duty, not the federal government. So we've got this competition between government agencies for the taxes. They actually compete with each other. People think, so this is where our whole system's broken. States and federal all tax, and they compete to intercept the tax. So state gets the stamp duty, but federal gets the capital gains tax, right?
It could also really damage house prices because people would sell for 20% less than the market value because they're not going to pay 40% in capital gains.
Correct.
It's already damaging the market. So what's going on at the moment is we had a 2.5% decrease in prices through REA information that we're getting. Real estate.
What time period was that?
That was in a month.
That was last month.
In 28 days, the market has deteriorated 2.5%. So we're already seeing this. Anyway, look, you can. This is all available on.
Yeah, it's 25 to 30% per annum at that rate.
Yep. And people, I suppose, have been lured into a scheme where, look, the government will fund this and help you get into a first home. 5% deposits. That 5%'s already gone. If you bought a home, I feel really sorry I'm really concerned for people that have gone out on a limb, bought a property. Now they're probably 5% negative equity in their property, and it's not over. It's not over. So you're sitting there thinking, I've gone out on a limb, I've put my 5% deposit. If it's $1 million property, I've put in $50,000 of my money, and that has gone, and I now owe another $50,000 on top of that. It is dreadful. Now, long term, it's okay. If you can ride that storm, we know real estate prices, what goes up goes down. I was selling houses for $60,000 and $70,000 when I started in real estate. You can't buy one for that now, can you? They're all $2 million in the area that I work. So is this a long-term thing? No. Real estate is still the best investment. We've got 400,000 people that have been coming into this country over the last 4 years. The Albanese government have allowed 400,000 people in per year on average. And we're building 172,000 houses. So I don't know about you. I was never really good at maths at school, but that doesn't quite add up to me. So is there going to be, and real estate is all about, the markets are all about supply and demand. Are we going to have a shortage of properties for people? But yes, obviously we are. So real estate is still the prime thing that people should be buying. I have no doubt about that. Are we in for some serious hurt over the next 6, 12, 18 months? Unfortunately, because of this government, I think we are. And until we have an election and we can get rid of these people, it's ongoing. As I say, look, I didn't want to make this a political speech, but what is happening to our real estate market and to people is disgusting.
100%. Couldn't have said it better myself, Steve. Just want to shift gear a little bit. As far as legislation and government and markets and all the rest of it, and a bit of pain coming, there's an impact on the average real estate office, the average business. It's like when all the electricity goes up, it puts pressure on like cafes and restaurants because they've got high electricity costs through cool rooms and air conditioning and all that sort of stuff, right? So our impact is legislation, basically. It becomes harder to manage the back end of the business.
Compliance and legislation.
Yeah, compliance and legislation. So we've been smashed with a heap of compliance over the last 5 years due to what I believe is a controlling government. And what I'm starting to see is there's a bit of pain out there with the average real estate office. So they're not at a big scale yet. They've got 200 to 300 property managements on their portfolio. They've got the principal who's also selling and trying to manage staff. They've got a few bits and pieces, like maybe one or two other real estate agents, got a receptionist, a property manager, and not much more, but they're also expected to do all this compliance. They've got to now go out and get someone else in their wage base to help with all this compliance internally. I'm starting to hear rhetoric out there that they've just had enough and they're probably just going to sell off and close up to the bigger brands.
It's not commercially viable anymore for mums and dads. So traditionally in real estate, you had some of your big corporates or franchises and big real estate offices. But most of them were mums and dads and people that basically were, a salesperson, decided to open their own office. They had ambition, as we all do, and ultimately built up a small property management. As you know, in my past corporate life, I dealt with businesses all over Australia, and hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands actually. And the majority of real estate businesses have traditionally been a selling principal, maybe a salesperson, even two sometimes if times are good. Generally a property manager that's looking after maybe 100 to 200 properties, sometimes 300. They don't go much past that because that then involves another head count, another property manager. It's just not financially viable. But the biggest issues we've got at the moment is compliance. We're becoming so regulated, and I believe over-regulated, to the point where you need a HR full-time compliance officer to be looking after a business.
Even in a small one.
In a small office. And this is why and as you know, as a business, we've had a couple of people approach us with merger opportunities, and we're actually got a very exciting opportunity that we're about to launch publicly shortly.
We're in the middle of one.
Well,
probably the rumours are already gone around.
A wonderful merger with a fantastic guy, and I'm really super excited about having him on board. But it just makes business sense. He's going to make more money potentially. He's going to be able to do what he does really well, and that's help people, and leave the compliance to somebody that does that. He can't afford to be doing that. And doing what he does. It just doesn't work. And unfortunately, that's what's happened. We've become overregulated.
I think that we need it's got to be separated, HR and compliance on its own, because the compliance now is taking over.
Yeah.
Like the sales meetings, everything that we need to prepare for that, it's just all compliance now.
Yep.
Can I tell you this is in all industries. So I've got, just very quickly, I've got a brother who has been in the fire industry all his life. Run a very successful business, small business, very successful business. He has only just recently retired, not because he wanted to retire. He said the regulations and the compliance now has got to a point. He was a senior guy who could sign off buildings and all that stuff. He said it's got to the point now where it's just not financially viable. It's not financially viable. Now, if you're a big company, it is still viable because you can absorb those costs. Your profits shrink, which is all businesses are saying, but it's just not a viable option anymore. So unfortunately, the mums and dads, the small businesses, you won't see them around for much longer, I don't believe.
Unless we have some sort of change to legislation.
I also think it affects new agents who come into the industry. I want to be a real estate agent. Yeah. And then they get hit with, actually, this is also part of your job now.
Yeah, you're a compliance officer.
You are now a compliance officer.
Yep.
Scary.
Look, I didn't sign up for the federal police, so
we're not trying to bash on regulation because at the end of the day, regulation is required because if you just let it be the wild, wild west,
No.
people get hurt. They financially get hurt. They emotionally get hurt. We're dealing with big sums. We're dealing with people's homes. I get all that. But there was a happy place about 10 years ago where I thought it was perfect. And then it got out of control. And look, it's come down to the last 4 or 5 years of this government. And that's what a Labor government does. I mean, I'm sorry if I sound like I'm Labor bashing, but I'm Labor bashing because
when you employ
as far as unions go, that's how they operate. They have a hierarchy. And if you're not in the hierarchy, that's what happens. They go after you. And that happened to me as a young bloke in unions, and I can get slammed for this. I don't care. Any union member that loves their unions, come down and have a chat with me. I don't care. I'll discuss it with you. And we'll see who has a better discussion over that or a better debate because it is exactly how these guys operate. It's dare I say it, a control system, which we all know what that means. A control system is how far does it go? Where's the line in the sand? And what do they control in your life? Because I know of another group that used to do that and they got kicked out of Germany when there was too much control. So anyway, we can move on with that. So Steve, just wanted to, before we wrap up here today, I wanted to talk to you a bit more about the sort of coaching side. You mentioned you were really passionate about training, and I know we're developing we've got a program, we've had a program for a long time for our people, but we're developing it even further, and we're going to be potentially rolling it out in Penrith area and then other areas. Why are you so passionate about coaching people to be real estate agents?
I think, Damian, I look at it this way. I was very fortunate when I got into real estate. I had very good mentors, similar to you. I had they were hard taskmasters, but I learnt probably the hard way, if you like, the old-fashioned way. And through that process and over those 46 odd years that I've been in real estate, I've learned so much from so many people. And I think to be able to pass that, and I've been very fortunate, I believe, to have that opportunity. I was very, very lucky to have that opportunity. And I think for someone who is starting out a career, it could be at any age, it could be as coming out of school, it could be someone in their 40s thinking, I need a change of what I'm doing. To be able to have somewhere where you can go and you can get really good information, and then say, okay, that coaching information, that information I've learned, I'm now taking that away with me, and I have people that can help me and coach me as I go to succeed in this business. I think to be able to be involved in that is something that I'm really passionate about. It's giving back.
Yep.
It's giving back. It's like a legacy, if you like. I think
it's
rather than retiring and going off into the distance and taking that knowledge to be able to share it with other people who are good people, I think is a real gift.
Well, you did try and go off into the distance with a caravan. How'd that work out for you?
The wife said she didn't want to travel around in a tin can, so it didn't go down so good.
So caravan was only like about a year old, and you had to sell it?
About a year.
And you bought a new car to tow it too.
Yes, it's another story. Anyway, move on with that one.
That was only about 4 weeks old, wasn't it?
Yeah, one trip we did on it. But anyway, that's okay.
Mate, I don't think travelling around Australia in a tin can would have suited you either.
No, I don't think it did.
Yeah. So the training side and the coaching side, look, I see that in you all the time, trying to help people, and
I see it in you as well. I think that's where we're both very much aligned. That we've done well. We want to try and help other people succeed and do well as well, and I genuinely believe that. So I think the training program or the coaching program that we've developed is experience from both of us, but it's not just us. It's the hundreds of mentors that we've come across throughout our life and the main mentors that we've had in our life. And it's the psychology. It's really understanding why people do things. It's not about this is what you say. It's why have they asked you that question? Why have they said that? It's really about understanding the psychology. And once you can show people that and they understand that, it puts a whole new perspective on it.
Like my unpopular opinion of why people use their feelings and then I get frustrated with them. You mean that psychology?
Sort of like that. Yeah. Well, this type personalities, that's another thing that we cover off in this course, which is what type of psychology are those people? because everyone's different. There's 4 main disc type personalities. We cover that often in detail. We get people to sit through and we analyse what disc type personality they are, and then we explain that. So then they understand when they're dealing with someone who they might find different to them, i.e. they're a bit pushy or they're a bit slow in making a decision. They understand it's a different disc type personality.
Steve, can you just quickly, in a nutshell, explain what that means? What is a disc profile?
Disc profile is just understanding the type of personality that you are. There's 4 main disc type personalities, but there's a whole breakaway from each of those. And we go into detail in our coaching program about that, so people really understand who they are, and then they can understand who they're interacting with. It's interesting. Most people find that their life partner is totally opposite to them, and that's one thing that I started to realise as we went further down that journey. It's very very interesting, but that's probably the building block on understanding who you're dealing with to start with. And then the psychology behind why people react in different ways that they do.
Why?
And that's what we go into detail with. So, so we've got some exciting things. We've been doing this for a long time, Damian, as you know. This has been ongoing for the last 7 or 8 years, and we've got to a stage now where we've just really fine-tuned this into a course where if someone came out of another industry and said, look, I really want to be a successful real estate agent, what does it take? Well, our course, our pro mentoring program will be the first step for them to potentially go to have that. And it's just not available out there. There's plenty of good coaches and plenty of good people, but there are no real basic start to finish training courses on what do I need to do to be successful in this business.
From a standing start.
There are virtually none that I know of, and that I see as a real shame.
Yeah, it seems to be a lot of the coaching these days is grabbing someone who's been in for 2 or 3 years.
Exactly.
They're mediocre. I mean, they're top people. They're top people.
It's about how to grow further.
Their performance is mediocre, and you can leverage so much more out of it. And they grow those people.
That's it.
But getting someone from standing start to something where they are somewhat desired by a business owner is the most difficult period. And it doesn't seem there's bits and pieces out there.
I've been on the tools as a carpenter. I can't work as a carpenter anymore. I might have back issues or whatever. Real estate's something I've always been interested in. What do I do? Where do I start? And where about those people? About helping them. Okay, this is the process. And getting them there.
This is not specific to Aitken, to be clear.
No.
You guys are coaching people who potentially live in Queensland, Melbourne, and just want to get started.
Absolutely.
We'll be going to market very shortly, but we've done hundreds of these courses, so we know what works and what doesn't work, and we've seen it firsthand. We've grown a lot of our own people who have gone on to be very successful. Amy, one of them, just here, and we've got top performers in our business that have all started from scratch. So proof's always in the pudding, I think.
Yep, definitely. Yeah. So before we head off, Steve, most embarrassing moment in real estate or dealing with a client?
Well, there's probably quite a few, Damian. When you've been around for 46 years, you come across quite a few scenarios. So I could probably write a book, and I may do that actually about all of them, but probably the worst one was I was only a young guy, probably been in real estate for about maybe a year, and I'll never forget it. I was at Cogra office, and my boss said, these people looking to buy a unit, here's 4 units, you're going to go and show them these units. It was on a Saturday, and here's the keys, and off you go. And a lot of people didn't have phones back then, but it's a Saturday, and there's going to be potentially agents showing your property. So I was always taught, knock on the door, give a good loud knock, not a big loud knock, open the door, yell out, hello, is anyone home? Nobody home. Then go in, show the people. Always make sure you put your business card on the table and show the people through, and then always make sure you shut the door and lock the door. So that was the process. So I'd had these people in the car, and I was a bit of a goofy young guy that, was sort of easily embarrassed, I suppose, and we were going to can't remember if it was the second or third unit, and it's like, okay, knock on the door, yes, open the door, hello, nobody there, come in, and I remember walking down the hallway, and I said to the people, "Follow me," and I put my card on the table, and then I looked back at them, and they were just gone. They just had this horrified look on their face and out the door, and I thought, what's going on? And then I realised, looking into the bedroom, what was going on. These two were going hammer and tongs, and I thought, I couldn't. This is Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock, for God's sake. You know, the agents come. I couldn't get out of there quick enough. But the most embarrassing thing was, I don't know who was more embarrassed. It was me, I think. But we got back in the car, and I didn't say anything, and they didn't say anything, and we just drove off to the next property. And as we're driving off, I thought, I put my card on the table, my business card on the table.
So they know you were there.
Well,
they didn't hear you, but they're going to find out.
I don't know, but that's probably the most embarrassing. But there's been plenty of others. So, I'll write a book one day.
If you weren't in real estate, what would you have been in? In 1980, mate.
Interesting. I was going to join the police. I was going to.
Same as. I was
going. Yeah, I was going to go into the police force, and it's interesting because I did a disc profile a few years after I got into real estate, and it said you'd be ideal for something dangerous like police or army or something. I thought, oh, really? Anyway, but here we are. We're in real estate.
Well, Steve, thank you for coming on. Appreciate your time. I'm glad to finally introduce you to the Penrith market because
Thanks,
your
Damian.
earlier career was in a different area, and really appreciate you having on board in our team. Thank you, Jess.
Thanks, Jess.